Welcome back to the deep dive. We're digging into a story today that honestly sounds almost too wild to be true. Picture this headline: an ice cream vendor, a huge 1.8 crore job offer, and a poster from a top college. Sounds like a dream, right? But what if the whole thing was just fake?
It's a really staggering scenario, isn't it? And this incident, it popped up around August 22, 2025. It just instantly shows how fast a story like that, totally fabricated, but really appealing, can just, take hold.
Absolutely. So the story centers on this young man, supposedly landed this incredible 1.8 crore job package. That's 1.8 crore Indian rupees. But then he gets shown as an ice cream vendor on this promotional poster, and it's linked falsely to IMT College in Greater Noida. Yeah, this wasn't just some mix-up. The reports say it was a deliberate alleged fraud, and it just blew up online.
Right. And today's deep dive, it's not just about that one fake image. We want to look at the bigger picture here. This whole thing, it kind of holds up a mirror, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It shows the massive appeal of those high-paying careers, but also the very real dangers of information being twisted in this digital age. And importantly, how you, listening now, can maybe get better at spotting this stuff, using critical thinking to see through the noise, whether it's genuine hope or just, deception.
Okay, so stick with us. We're going to unpack the pretty shocking details of this alleged fraud. We'll look at how people reacted, which was fast and pretty intense. And then this is the really interesting part. We'll explore how skills from fields like consulting, structured thinking, careful analysis, making educated guesses, how those skills can actually help all of us figure out what's real and what's not behind the headlines. It's like building a toolkit for thinking clearly.
Exactly that. Moving beyond just, scrolling past information to actually understanding it,
Yeah.
verifying it.
All right, let's start from the top. Let's break down this viral deception, the 1.8 crore job fraud. So the reports from August 22nd mention a video, posters. They went viral, all claiming this guy got this unbelievable 1.8 crore rupee job. But what made it so, cruel and so effective was framing him as an ice cream vendor. Why do that?
Well, that's the hook, isn't it? That detail, the ice cream vendor part, it creates this instant rags to riches narrative. Makes the achievement seem even more amazing, more inspiring, almost unbelievable, really. It's designed to, hit you emotionally, spark hope, while at the same time wrongly linking him to IMT College. And the result, like you said, the video just exploded. Massive attention, huge outrage online. It shows how easily perceptions can be shaped and how fast.
And of course, IMD College in Greater Noida, they couldn't just let that slide. Their reputation was on the line. They came out really strongly right away, put out a press release, called it shameful and unfortunate, and said point blank that mischievous elements are spreading false and insulting content.
Yeah, and that really underlines how serious this kind of online stuff can be. The college made it super clear. They said comparing their proud alumni with an unknown ice cream vendor and labeled it as a fraud was fake, baseless, and a deliberate attempt to defame IMT's reputation. This wasn't just about setting the record straight. It was about protecting their name, their students. Actually, reports later said the person who made and spread the video was caught and apologized after the college complained. So yeah, these online things, they have real consequences for everyone involved.
Which brings us right to that idea of the digital echo chamber. The public reaction online, it wasn't just anger. It was like this raw frustration bubbling up. People were incensed, according to one source, pointing fingers at private institutions and coaching centers, accusing them of tricking students, using maybe inflated or even fake placement numbers. It really struck a nerve.
Oh, definitely. You could feel it in the comments. Things like, this is just the same old game of the coaching mafia gang. Or someone else saying, the looting continues. It's not about studies. It's all about money. And that warning, don't fall for the false dreams sold by big coaching centers. That really hit home for a lot of people. This huge reaction, it shows something important. We all want success, right? We want to move up. And that desire makes us, sometimes vulnerable to stories that promise an easy way, even if it feels off. The point isn't just that fraud exists. It's that it often plays on our hopes, our anxieties too.
That's a really key insight. It taps into these widespread worries about honesty, about transparency, especially when it comes to careers and education. And this is where social media, it's such a double-edged sword. I mean, on one hand, it helped expose the fraud, right? People shared it, got angry, demanded answers. But then it's the same platform that lets these lies spread like crazy to begin with.
Exactly. The insight there is kind of profound, really. The very things that make social media great for connecting and learning how fast it is, how far it reaches, are the same things that make it perfect for manipulation. Sure, it connects us globally, offers tons of educational stuff. News updates, helps young people find classes, jobs. All that's true. But, like one source said, it also leaves the door open for manipulation and moral degradation.
Yeah.
It's this space where trust is constantly being built up and torn down.
Yeah, it's wild how tools meant for good get twisted. The source even mentioned this lack of checks and balances on abusive language has seeped into the consciousness of young minds, proving the Frankenstein syndrome to be true. That's a strong metaphor, technology getting out of our control. How does that seeping actually work?
Well, it's often subtle. It's like a slow erosion. When you're constantly seeing claims that aren't checked, or super biased stuff, or just outright lies, especially if you're not actively questioning it, your sense of what's normal or true can shift. And for younger people, whose critical thinking is still developing, it's even more tricky. They might start to internalize these things, blur the lines between fact and fiction, maybe even think aggressive online behavior is just how things are. And that ties directly into spreading rumors and propaganda, which leads to dishonesty and lies. This kind of misinformation, it's not harmless. It can mislead people dangerously. Think about health scares or inciting violence or, like in this case, a fake job offer messing with someone's future. It has real impact.
So just ditching these platforms isn't the answer then?
No, probably not practical or even desirable for most people. The suggestion is more about positive and balanced utilization. It really comes down to developing digital literacy. Critical thinking skills. We need to shift from just consuming information passively to being active, questioning participants, learn how to use these powerful tools responsibly, knowing the risks and the potential.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. Moving from digital lies to something more aspirational, I guess. Genuine ambition and the kind of sharp thinking you see in fields like consulting. Because this whole incident, terrible as it was, highlights that real desire people have for good jobs, successful careers. That's the void the fraud tried to fill.
Exactly. And consulting is a field where, yes, high salaries are possible, but they're earned through really rigorous analytical work. And actually, there's a great example of this drive meeting preparation, the 180 Degrees Consulting Gargi student branch. They put out a consulting casebook. What's cool is it's the first all-female branch, started in 2019 at Gargi College, University of Delhi. They released their first casebook edition just this past April, 2025. It shows that drive for excellence, but channeled into building real skills.
That sounds like a fantastic initiative, giving people practical tools. So let's break it down for listeners. What is consulting, really? It's not just giving advice, right? The casebook says it's more than just giving advice. It's a people's job, needing interaction, effective communication, critical thinking, and analysis.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It often gets misunderstood. The basic goal, to improve performance, efficiency, or profitability for companies or organizations. How? Through deep research analysis and presenting recommendations. It attracts people because you get, well, diverse exposure, skill development, work with experts, quick learning, instant networking. You're always learning, always being pushed.
Sounds intense but rewarding. What's maybe one big thing people get wrong about what a consultant does every day?
I think maybe the idea that they just walk in with all the answers ready to go. But really, the job is to analyze problems, develop solutions, and guide implementation to bring that valuable, objective outside perspective.
Yeah.
It's less about having the answer immediately and more about having a really solid process to find it.
Gotcha. And what skills are absolutely crucial for that, to thrive in that kind of job?
Well, you need a pretty specific toolkit. Data analysis, being able to make sense of numbers and information. Business acumen, understanding how businesses actually work. Domain knowledge helps, though you often learn that on the fly. And critically, communication skills. I mean, you could have the most brilliant analysis, but if you can't explain it clearly, it's kind of useless, right? These are the building blocks.
Okay, so this leads to the big question for everyone listening and what I find really useful here. In this world flooded with information, some fake, some real, how do you protect ourselves? What can we learn from a field like consulting that demands such clarity?
Right. And that's where the consulting mindset becomes so valuable, not just for consultants, but for everyone. That casebook, for instance, it tries to bridge that gap, offering a practical, structured approach to developing that consultant's mindset. It's not just about landing a job. It's about getting a solid framework for thinking critically every day about anything you encounter.
And a huge part of that is structured thinking, breaking big problems down, making educated guesses or guesstimates based on logic, which is totally different from the rumors and just random guessing you see online sometimes, right? It's a methodical way to understand things.
Totally different. Think about that Euro .8 Crore offer again. Using structured thinking, your first step isn't just wow or no way. It's asking, okay, What makes up 1.8 crore? Is it salary, bonus, stock, where? Then you use a guesstimate. How much experience usually gets that kind of package? In what industry? Are there public salary ranges you can check? It's about reasoned approximation, using logic, quick calculations. What gets tested isn't just your guess, but your problem solving, your structured thinking, judgment under pressure, your numerical aptitude. Skills you need when you see some crazy claim online and don't have all the facts.
So don't just swallow the number, take it apart. Test it against logic. And they use case interviews too, right? Like simulations to test how you analyze a situation, derive insights, and give recommendations, all while thinking aloud.
Yes. And the thinking aloud part is crucial. It forces you to explain your assumptions, your steps. If we apply that back to checking information, like that ice cream vendor story, instead of just reacting emotionally, you'd sort of think aloud your check. Okay, the college says he's an alum, but the vendor thing is fake. Where did that image come from? What does the college officially say about placements? Does 1.8 crore INR even sound remotely possible for a recent grad in any field connected to them given typical salaries? That kind of structured, verbalized thinking helps you spot the holes.
Makes sense. Are there specific principles that guide this structured thinking beyond guesstimates?
Yeah, the casebook mentions things like MEC, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So for our example, if you were verifying that job offer, MECE means checking all the distinct relevant parties, the college, the company if named, the purpose and the source of the post, making sure you cover all bases without overlap. Don't miss anything, don't count things twice. Another one is hypothesis-based strategy. You start with a hypothesis like, okay, this job offer seems fishy. Then you actively look for evidence to prove or disprove it instead of just looking for stuff that confirms what you already think.
So what's the bottom line for you listening right now? These aren't just fancy skills for consultants. They're really vital life skills for gaining knowledge quickly but thoroughly, for telling truth from, well, clever fiction, for having those aha moments without getting totally swamped by all the information coming at you.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to be a smarter, more critical consumer of information, which, let's face it, we all need in a world that throws so much at us, some true, some mistaken, and some, like we saw, deliberately false. It's about building a mental filter.
And that really wraps up our deep dive for today. We started with that pretty shocking alleged 1.8 crore fraud. We looked at social media's role, powerful but tricky. And we ended up exploring how developing a sharp analytical mindset, like the kind used in consulting, is so crucial for navigating information and making good judgments every day.
Yeah, the goal was to give you some tools. Tools to look deeper, to question, to check things out. Because structured thinking, making reasoned guesses, asking critical questions, these skills aren't just for one job. They're fundamental for making sense of the world.
So we leave you with this thought. In an age where one viral post can invent a multi-million rupee job or trash a reputation or just stir up trouble, how will you choose to question, verify, and really understand the stories that shape your world? Something to think about. We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable perspective and maybe some useful tools for doing just that.